Art must be acknowledged as basic to individual development and, therefore, be taught effectively beginning in the early years. This is according to Lasky and Mukherjee, 1980. Chapter 2: Nurturing Creativity Through the Creative Arts. Here are some key questions that needed to address in this chapter. Why do we need to teach art to young children? How do we select and organize art activities for children? What is the teacher's role in early childhood art? How do we integrate art to other curricular areas? How do we determine developmentally appropriate art activities? The need to teach art to young children. Why do we need to teach art to young children? Well, here are the reasons why we need to teach art to young children. Number 1, art is an integral part of our lives. Number 2, art is a child's first language. Number 3, art helps children grow. Let's first discuss art is an integral part of our lives. Art is everywhere. We are surrounded by art, such that the best way to describe art is to imagine life without it. Without art, life would be drab and boring. Like, imagine how would a flower look like if they have no color or form, or if books without illustration. In the classroom, art is present in every activity that we offer children, or to our child. That is why using visual art is important. What is visual art? Visual art is the manipulation of the visual and spatial elements of line, color, texture, pattern, and form. This is according to Coaster, 1997. Art can be used for decorative, communicative, and expressive purposes. Moving on to the second reason. Art is the child's first language. Long before children learn to write or express their thoughts into words, they manipulate lines, colors, textures, patterns, and forms to express their thoughts. Art is the first written language. For as the children explore and experiment with materials in their environment, they begin to develop graphic symbols to present ideas. For example, a child drawing a big circle and putting 3 dots on the face for the eyes and 5 lines as hair is demonstrating an understanding of features of human face. Third, art helps children grow. As young children create art, they gain skills and develop concepts which enable them to function in their environment. Art helps children grow physically, socially, emotionally, perceptually, cognitively, and creatively. For instance, in physically, art helps children grow physically by improving their large and fine muscles by refining eye-hand coordination. For example, tearing paper for collage and using scissors for cutting refined small muscle movement. Also, painting on easels helps develop large muscles of the arms. Emotionally, art is a natural vehicle for children to express their feelings. They reflect their thoughts and emotions through their choices of color, texture, and media. For instance, when happy or excited, a child may use bright colors. When sad or upset, a child may choose darker tones. Socially, as children work together in creating art, they learn social skills. They learn to take turns and to share materials with others. They also learn how to make choices and how to behave towards others. For instance, a child may decide to lend his or her crayons to his seatmate, or to allow other children to work on the same table with them. Moreover, art provides children opportunity to work together towards a common goal. May this goal be completing a mural or cleaning up or another finger painting. Cognitively, children learn through their senses, and visual perception is actually visual thinking. Visual thinking is a cognitive process where images are given meaning. Art also enhances perception as children explore and use spatial concepts as well as visual and tactile constructions of color, shape, size, patterns, and placement in space. Overall, children use the elements of art to represent their thoughts. They develop their verbal skills when they talk about their artwork. They also learn and use related technical vocabulary like who, sculpture, and others. Artistic development in young children. Art provides unique insights into children's perceptual world. What they are attending to, how space and distance are viewed, how they experience patterns and forms. Over the years, some researchers have collected samples of children's arts and look for patterns as means of understanding how children think. One of the research is the work of Rhoda Kellogg. Rhoda Kellogg, 1997, was one of the first to recognize the scribbles of young children were an important part of the child's development, and that the mark made by different children from different cultures and countries are more similar than they were different. Based on her collection of child's drawing, Kellogg identified several patterns that were similar in all drawings she analyzed. Scribbles represent the earliest form of drawing. Kellogg identified of marking, which she called basic scribbles. These include vertical, horizontal, diagonal, curving, waving, or zigzag lines and dots. As young children progress from scribble to picture making, they go through 4 distinguishable stages: placement, shape, design, and pictorial. Let's first discuss the placement stage. Kellogg used the term placement stage to describe 2 to 3 years old's drawing drawn on a page in a placement pattern. Kellogg has identified 7 patterns of placement of scribbles on paper. Next, the shape stage. The shape stage is a term used by Kellogg to describe the drawing of 3-year-olds that consists of diagrams in different shapes. Children draw 6 basic shapes: circles, squares or rectangles, triangles, crosses, X's, and forms. Another one, the design stage. The design stage is a term used to describe a drawing of 3 to 4-year-olds in which young children mix 2 basic shapes into a more complex designs. These designs are abstract rather than representation. These stages occur rather quickly. Lastly, the pictorial stage. The pictorial stage is the term used by Kellogg to describe the drawing of 4 to 5-year-olds that consists of objects that adults can recognize. In conclusion of the work of Rhoda Kellogg, Kellogg felt that drawing was an expression of the growth of child's physical and mental processes, and that it was the process of drawing that was important. Based on her observation, she felt strongly that the child who has frequent opportunity to draw without adult interference learn faster and increases his cognitive ability more than he would if he were denied the opportunity. Moving on to the next research, the work of Victor Lowenfeld and William Lambert Brittain. Victor Lowenfeld and William Lambert Brittain expanded Kellogg's work and extended the stages of art development into adolescence. Like Kellogg, they also warned against outside interference of the child's process of self-expression. According to them, children move through the stages naturally as they mature. The teacher's role is to provide materials and the time for children to explore their own. We have here a table of developmental stages of child art based on Kellogg 1967 and Lowenfeld of Brittain 1987. Age, stage, characteristics. Under the age of 2 to 4 years, we have the scribbling stage. And under those years, we have 1 to 2.5 years, wherein we have here the random scribbling. It has the characteristic of random lines are made using the whole arm, tool held with whole hand. Lines may extend beyond paper. Next, under 2 to 4 years, we have 2.5 to 3 years, where in the stage of controlled scribbling. And its characteristics are to begin to use wrist motion, stays on paper, makes smaller marks, controls where lines are placed. And next is, we also have under 2 to 4 years, the 3 to 4.5 years, where we have name, scribbled stage, where its characteristics are to hold tools with fingers, can make many different lines and shape, name scribbles, but often changes names. Next age is 4 to 7, and its stage is pre-schematic, and characteristic is, or are, develops a set of symbols to represent concept, may not resemble or impartial to real objects. Learn that picture communicates to other, begins to value his product. Next age, 7 to 9, under schematic stage. Drawing shows concept, not real images. Base, the line or the skyline appear. X-ray drawings appear. Next is 9 to 12 years or age. Dawning realism. Objects are drawn smaller with more details, less concern for placement of object, realizes that symbol did not or don't represent real images. Next, 12 to 14 age, under pedo-naturalistic or realistic drawing stage. Characteristic of it is are detailed figure cartoon images, shading proportion of perspective appearance more or less successfully, spontaneous drawing ends, except for those who go on in art. 14 plus age, artistic decision, adolescent art stage. Its characteristics are, some pursue naturalistic drawing, many copy or imitate various styles before developing their own. Art and cognitive development. When we say development, it is the state of mind. Moving on to our lesson, although few researchers in art education overtly acknowledge the depth of Piaget, the research and theory of artistic development has emerged in dialogue with Piagetian assumption. It is according to Atkinson 2002, Howard Gardner 1991, support Piaget's idea that sensory learning dominates the first 18 months of life, and this followed by a symbolic period during preschool years. Gardner states, depiction of aspects of the world through drawing, construction in block and clay, and other iconic vehicles is a symbolic avenue of great significance in early childhood. In this theory of multiple intelligence, Gardner proposes that cognitive development takes place in waves rather than stages. Moreover, Gardner's wages of cognitive growth and how it is expressed in children's art is shown on the table. Here is a table of arts and cognitive growth based on Howard Gardner, 1997. Age, cognitive understanding, art produced. Under age, we have casual relationship from age 1½ to 2 years old. Its cognitive understanding is to discover relationship between object and event. Its art produced is to draw a dog by scribbling and barking at the same time. Next is spatial relationships, 2 to 3 year olds or years old. Its cognitive understanding is to discover spatial relationships, and its art produced is to draw a dog by drawing a circle for its head and beside another circle for the body. Next age is the numerical relationships, 3 to 5. Its cognitive understanding is to represent numerical concept. Its art produced is to draw a dog with 4 legs, 2 ears, and 1 tail. And lastly, notational relationship, 5 to 7 years. Its cognitive understanding is to invent or learns meaningful symbols of the culture, and its art produced is to draw a dog with tail, floppy ears, and label it dog. Other researchers, Darras and Klingler, 1994, Wolf and Perry, 1984, proposed a model of artistic development that shows how a child's art is more than the picture on the paper, but also what the child says and how the child moves. They describe artistic production as modality, one that is organized by modes of behavior. An outline on how sensory motor activity develop into drawing is provided by illustration of hypothetical pre-drawing developmental pathways or teleologies. These teleologies represent an ageless, stageless system with a map-like structure that represent multiple pathways of artistic development. According to this model, a child's art is more than the picture on the model, but also what the child says and how the child moves. Art production is multimedia blend of graphic, verbal, and kinesthetic experiences that reveals the child's thought processes. Okay, we have here the multimedia modes of artistic production based on Kidler and Darras 1997. What you can observe, we have 5 modes of multimedia modes of artistic production. And under the child, we have says, draws, moves, and lastly, adult. Says, mode 1, random sound. Mode 2, words. Mode 3, matches sounds and action. Mode 4, naming. Mode 5, story. Draws. Mode 1, random marks. Mode 2, shapes. Mode 3, action symbols. Mode 4, object symbols. Mode 5, pictures in cultural style, understandable without words. Moves. Mode 1, random movement. Mode 2, conscious control. Mode 3, self-imitation. Mode 4, repetition. And Mode 5, imitation of cultural styles. Under adult, Mode 1, media exploration. Mode 2, simple doodles. Mode 3, complex doodles. Mode 4, shorthand symbols. Example, stick figures. Mode 5, detail recognition or recognizable symbols in styles of culture. Moving on to the next topic, social and cultural factors that affect artistic development. The social and cultural context in which children grow and develop influences children's artistic development for several reasons. First, adults determine what art materials are acceptable for children to use and set the limit of what is creative art. Second, adults determine how much experience the child or children have with art materials. Repetition and practice are the keys to improve skills. Third, adults determine the availability of art materials. Children are most likely to be interested in doing art if art materials are readily available. Other people around them is also doing art. Fourth, adults determine the kind of environment the child will be surrounded with. Children who have seen examples of variety of art forms are taught to value them, are more likely to include elements from this example in their own art. Lastly, fifth, adults can influence how a child feels about art. Children will learn to love art or to hate it, depending on how the adults around them respond to the children's artwork. The importance of the social and cultural factors that affects children's artistic development requires teachers and adults to see the child as a whole and make a unique combination of these factors. Remember that while the attitudes and beliefs acquired during early years changes and evolve through one lifestyle or lifetime, early childhood experiences can play a formative role and influence further learning as adults. This is according to Kindler and Dara's 1997. Planning and organizing art activities for children. We have learned that the activities provide the content that will foster the artistic growth as identified in the goals. It is important that these activities are planned in advance so that teachers are prepared to guide the art activities of children. An activity plan should answer the following. Number 1, who? Group composition. A. Specify the age group and number for children. B. Know the children's previous experience in art. C. Know if they are children with special needs. 2. When? Time frame. A. Provide sufficient time to complete an activity. B. Provide transition time for wet to dry activity. C. Provide time to share discussing and mounting finished product. 3. Why? Objectives. A. Describe a behavior that can be accomplished within the time frame of the activity. B. Use words that describes observable and measurable behavior specific to the activity. Number 4. Where? Set up. A. Describe where the children will be working. B. State where the supplies will be located. Number 5. What? Materials. A. Select materials that allows children to explore independently. B. Choose materials that can be used many times in many ways by the children. C. Select materials that are safe and easy to use. D. Select materials that do not require long preparation or clean-up time. Number 6. How? Procedure. A. Transition into the activity includes getting children's interest and introducing the materials and where to get them. B. Outlining the step-by-step procedure that describe what the teacher and the children will be going or doing. C. Describe the kinds of questions to ask, vocabulary to use, response to give to the children at work. D. Describe the transition out of the activity by providing the children with closure. And lastly, number 7, how successful? Assessment. A. Describe indicators describing what children are able to do during the activity. Remember, the process is more important than the product. B. After the activity, take time to answer the following question. Did the activity went the way it was planned? Were the materials properly presented? Were the children excited about the activity? What made the children openly satisfied? Was there a lot of mess to clean up. How can this activity be improved?